Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today I will give a lecture on topic titled Consumers Equilibrium in two commodity case using cardinal utility approach. In my previous lecture, I have explained to you consumers equilibrium in case of one commodity where the condition for consumers equilibrium was that marginal utility of commodity X should be equal to price of commodity X, and marginal utility of commodity X was measured in terms of monetary units. That is, marginal utility of commodity X was divided by constant marginal utility of money, which is the assumption of cardinal utility approach that the marginal utility of money is kept as constant. Other assumptions of this cardinal utility approach that we have discussed in our previous lecture was price of the commodity was given and consumer is said to be rational. The same assumption follows in this topic also, but here the difference is only that in this consumer's equilibrium we study the consumer's equilibrium when there are two commodities available for consumption. A cardinal utility approach, as you know, it says that utility, that is satisfying power of any commodity, can be measured in numbers such as 1 util, 2 util, 3 util, etc. And this consumer equilibrium in case of two commodity case, it is based on law of equimarginal utility. Law of equimarginal utility. That is Gaussian's second law. Gaussian has given three laws. First law is related to law of diminishing marginal utility, and second law, which is dealing with law of equimarginal utility. Because under two commodity case, the consumer will have to distribute his income in such a way that the marginal utilities derived from both commodities after paying a price for that should be equal each other. That is, marginal utility of commodities in terms of their price ratio should be equal. That is a condition for consumers equilibrium. That is known as law of equimarginal utility. And marginal utility, as I have already explained to you in my previous lecture, that it is addition to total utility when we consume one more unit of commodity or when we use more unit of a service, or it is an extra utility derived from extra unit of consumption of a commodity or use of service. Suppose there are two commodities X and Y, where X is an ice cream and Y is a commodity that is chocolate. Let us suppose. These two commodities are available to a consumer for consumption to derive utility from these commodities from his given income. Let us suppose the income of a consumer is given equal to 50 rupees. And let us suppose the price of X, Px is price of X commodity, that is ice cream, equal to 10, and price of Y commodity, P is price wise commodity, that is chocolate, let us suppose it is also equal to 10 rupees. Price may be different. Let us suppose here we assume it is equal to 10 rupees for both commodities, that's ice cream and chocolate, or commodity X, commodity Y. And income of the consumer is given. As consumer's equilibrium is defined, a condition where a consumer gains or gets maximum satisfaction, that is utility, highest utility, from the consumption of different quantities of two commodities when the income of the consumer is given and the price of commodity is given. Means he will always try to maximize his level of satisfaction, utility from his given income. This budget of the consumer, it is limited given. Now it is clear to you that the utility, that is satisfying power of this ice cream and satisfying power of this chocolate, that is utility of chocolate, it will be different to a consumer. Therefore, consumer will consume different quantities of this commodity X, that is ice cream, and commodity Y, that is chocolate, till their marginal utilities gets equalized by spending his given income on these two commodities. Therefore, the condition for consumer's equilibrium in case of two commodities is marginal utility of MU is marginal utility of commodity X, that is ice cream here, divided by price of this commodity X. It should be equal to marginal utility of Y divided by price of commodity Y, that is chocolate. And it should be equal to constant marginal utility of money, which is the assumption of cardinal utility approach, which says that by spending one more unit of rupee on commodity X, on additional unit of commodity X or Y, the utility per unit of rupee, that is extra unit of rupee that is to be spent, should be same for every extra unit of rupee on by spending this on extra unit of commodity X and Y. It will remain constant for every extra unit of rupee. Let us suppose that in our example, marginal utility of money, which is also given constant, suppose it is equal to 8 utilities. Therefore, it means that when we spend one more unit of rupee, suppose we have 2 rupees, when we spend first 2 rupee on commodity X or commodity Y, we get some marginal utility of money in terms of utility derived from commodity X or Y is equal to 8 utilities. Therefore, by spending one more unit of rupee on extra unit of commodity X or Y, the utility derived should be equal to 8 utilities. That is the constant marginal utility of money. Or we can rewrite this equation as marginal utility of X divided by marginal utility of Y should be equal to price of X divided by price of Y. We can use both of these conditions of consumer equilibrium, or we can apply both of these equations to show the condition for consumer's equilibrium. And this is the law of equimarginal utility. or Gaussian second law, which states that a consumer will distribute his income in such a way that this distribution of income here means spending of this money, his given income on commodity X and commodity Y, till their marginal utilities, till their extra utility, additional utility gets equalized to their price ratios. Therefore, we can define Gaussian second law or law of equal marginal utility here as the consumer, which is considered as a rational consumer, will distribute or will spend his income in such a way that the marginal utilities derived from both commodities gets equalized to their price ratios or equal to constant marginal utility of money. क्योंकि as I have already told you that जो यूटिलिटी है कमोडिटी एक्स एट कमोडिटी वाई, सपोज कमोडिटी एक्स आइसक्रीम है एट कमोडिटी वाई चॉकलेट है, इसका जो यूटिलिटी है, सेटिस्फाइंग पावर है कंज्यूमर के लिए, वो सेम नहीं है। इसलिए जो कंज्यूमर होगा वो डिफरेंट क्वांटिटीज, डिफरेंट यूनिट्स ऑफ आइसक्रीम एंड डिफरेंट यूनिट्स ऑफ चॉकलेट कंज्यूम करेगा। और कब तक कंज्यूम करेगा? जब तक वो उनका जो मार्जिनल यूटिलिटीज है वो इक्वल होंगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्राइस रेशियोज। वही है लॉ ऑफ इक्वल मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी और Gaussian second law. And we can now show this consumer's equilibrium with the help of schedule, that is tabular presentation, as well as with the help of diagram. As the condition for consumer's equilibrium is that marginal utility of X, that is an ice cream, divided by price of X should be equal to marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y, equal to constant marginal utility of money. And here, as we have already assumed that income of consumer is given, suppose it is equal to 50 rupees in our example, price of commodity X, that is Px, is equal to 10, price of commodity Y, that is Py, is also equal to 10, and marginal utility of money, which is assumed to be constant, let us suppose it is equal to 8 utils per unit of extra rupees spent on extra unit of commodity X or Y. Now we will draw a schedule or tabular presentation of this consumer's equilibrium. In the first column we will write units of commodity X, which is an ice cream in our example. In the second column we will write the price of commodity X, that is Px, first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit, and price of X, as we have assumed as given, equal to 10 rupees. It will remain same for every unit. From first unit of commodity X to fourth unit of commodity X, the price will not change, it will remain same. In this column we will write marginal utility of X. Let us suppose the first unit of commodity X, which is ice cream, gives us marginal utility equal to 100, and let us suppose second unit gives us 80, third unit 70, and fourth unit 75. It is based on law of diminishing marginal utility. As here the marginality of commodity X ice cream, it goes on diminishing as we consume more and more units of commodity X. Now in this column we will write units of commodity Y, which is chocolate in our example. Price of commodity Y, which is also given as equal to 10 rupees for every unit of commodity Y. From first unit to fourth unit it will not change. And in this column we will write marginal utility of Y commodity, that is chocolate. Let us suppose it is equal to 120. For the second unit it is equal to 100, 80 and 75. Now the condition for consumer's equilibrium is that marginality of commodity X and marginality of Y should be equal to their price ratios, or marginal utility of X divided by price of X, it should be equal to marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y equal to constant marginal utility of Y. Marginal utility of X divided by price of X. In this column we will derive marginal utility of X, it is 100, and price of X, which is same, that is equal to 10, it will be equal to 10. Marginal utility is equal to 80 of X commodity, and price is same, it will be equal to 8 utilis. From the next unit of commodity X, it is 70, price is 10, it will be equal to 7 utilis. It is 65 divided by 10, it will be equal to 6.5 utilis. In this column we will derive marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y. Marginal utility of Y, it is 120, and price of Y, as we have assumed, it is equal to 10. Here is also shown in this column. It will be equal to 12 for the first unit, and for the next unit it is 100 divided by 10 equal to 10. From the third unit, 80 divided by 10 equal to 8 utilis. 75 divided by 10 equal to 7.5 utilis. And marginal utility of money, which is assumed constant, equal to 8 utilis, 8 and 8. Now the condition for consumer's equilibrium is that marginal utility of X divided by price of X, it should be equal to price marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y equal to constant marginal utility of money. The first, here the consumer's equilibrium is achieved when a consumer consumes second unit of commodity X, when marginal utility of X divided by price of X is equal to 8, and marginal utility of money, that is also equal to 8, and for third unit of commodity Y, marginal utility of Y in terms of price paid, it is equal to 8 here, and marginal utility of money, that is also 8. The condition for consumer's equilibrium is that when a consumer consumes second unit of commodity X and third unit of commodity Y, where marginal utility of X divided by price of X is equal to 8, that is 80 divided by 10 is equal to 8, and price marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y is equal to 80 divided by 10, that is equal to 8, and marginal utility of money is also equal to 8. This is the condition for consumers equilibrium, when their marginal utilities in terms of price paid are equal in both commodities. That is based on a law of equimarginal utility. There is another condition for consumers equilibrium. Before that, I will write here the consumer's total expenditure. Total expenditure, because we assume here the income of the consumer as given. Therefore, total expenditure, that is total income spent on commodity X and Y, should be equal to income of the consumer. And total expenditure, it is equal to price of commodity X multiplied by quantity of commodity X. Px is the price, Qx is the quantity of commodity X. Price of Y into quantity of commodity Y, which is chocolate in our example, and X is an ice cream, should be equal, as we have assumed the income of the consumer, that is equal to 50 rupees. When consumer consumes 2 units of commodity, therefore total expenditure, because he pays 10 rupees for every unit, for 2 units price is equal to 10, and it is the second unit of commodity X, and price of Y, which we have also assumed equal to 10 rupees per unit, and it is the third unit, which is the consumer's equilibrium unit of commodity consumed, into 3 of Y, should be equal to 50 rupees. It will be equal to 20, 10 into 2 20, plus 10 into 3 is equal to 30, that is equal to 50, and income is also equal to 50. Therefore, consumer is in equilibrium. And another condition for consumer equilibrium in our example is that where marginal utility of X is equal to price of X. This is the first unit of commodity X, where marginal utility of X divided by price of X is equal to 10, and it is the second unit of commodity Y. Here, when consumer consumes first unit of commodity X, marginal utility of X divided by price of X is equal to marginal utility of X is equal to 100, and price of X is equal to 10, it is equal to 10 utilities, and Y2 gives him Y2 units of where marginal utility of Y is 100, and price of Y is equal to 10, it is equal to 10, or 100 divided by 10, 100 divided by 10. Therefore, marginal utility of X divided by price of X is also equal to marginal utility of y divided by price of y. But see it in terms of total expenditure, and in terms of constant marginal utility of money. Here the marginal utility of x and marginal utility of y, that is equal to 10 in both cases, is greater than marginal utility of money, which is equal to 8 utils. Therefore consumer will prefer more units of commodity x and commodity y, because marginal utility of money per unit rupees spent on extra unit of commodity x and y is less than the marginal utility derived from these commodities. Therefore, he will prefer commodity x and y as compared to retain income or to unspend his given income. But in terms of total expenditure, here total expenditure, price of x into quantity of x, price of y into quantity of y should be equal to given income. Price of x, this is the first unit of x in this case consumer's equilibrium, that is price of x is equal to 10, and quantity of x, price of x is equal to 10 and quantity of x is equal to 1 unit, and price of y, which is again same, into quantity of y consumed at this point is 2 units of y, and income is equal to 50 rupees. Here 10 into 1 is equal to 10 plus 10 into 2 is equal to 20 should be equal to 50, but here 30, that is total expenditure, is less than the income which a consumer is willing to spend on commodity x and y. Therefore consumer can have more units of commodity x and y and have more utilities, additional utilities from the consumption of extra unit of commodity x and y. Therefore this will not be the condition for consumer's equilibrium, the condition final, or we can say this is the initial equilibrium for consumer, but the final consumer's equilibrium is achieved when a consumer consumes 2 units of commodity x, where marginal utility is equal to 80 and price is equal to 10, and it will be equal to 8 utils. And when a consumer consumes third unit of commodity y, where marginal utility of y is equal to 80, and in terms of price it is equal to 80 divided by 10 is equal to 8 utils, and which is also equal to constant marginal utility of money. Therefore this will be the final consumer's equilibrium, this one, not this one, where his total expenditure is less than his income, or marginal utility of x and marginal utility of y after paying a price is greater than marginal utility of money, as shown in this schedule or tabular presentation. Now we can show it with the help of table. We can show now it with the help of diagram. From this table, this is the diagrammatic presentation of consumer's equilibrium. On vertical axis, marginal utility of x divided by price of x is measured. In this side, marginal utility of y divided by price of y is measured. Units of commodity x on horizontal axis from left to right and from right to left. units of commodity Y is measured. One, two, three, 4 and 5th unit. 0 against 5 when we measure the units of commodity Y from right to left. Against 4 it will be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and here 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 measure the units of commodity Y, and 0, 1, 2, 3 units of commodity X, and on this we measure the marginal utility of Y in terms of price of Y, marginal utility of X in terms of price of commodity X paid, and marginal utility of X in terms of price paid starts, the highest value is 10 and the lowest value is 6.5. Therefore we will write 5, or we will start from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. Here same 2, and marginality of Y and price of, in terms of price paid, the lowest value is 7.5 and the highest value is 12. Therefore we write it as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. And in our example, the condition for consumer equilibrium is that when the consumer consumes second unit of commodity X and third unit of commodity Y, where marginal utility of X in terms of price paid is equal to marginal utility of Y in terms of price paid, that's 80 divided by 10, 80 divided by 10 is equal to constant to marginal utility of money. That is equal to 8 utiles. Therefore, this will be the equivalent point 8, marginal utility of X in terms of price of X paid, 8 this point, and here marginal utility of Y in terms of price paid is equal to 8, and it is the second unit of commodity X, second unit of commodity X and third unit of commodity Y, where these are the equilibrium points. And this is a downward sloping of diminishing marginal utility of X in terms of price paid or per unit of price, and this is the downward sloping. This is the downward sloping of marginal utility of Y per unit of price of commodity Y. These are the two curves and they intersect at this point. This is the point of equilibrium, where the marginal utility of X in terms of price paid per unit price paid and marginal utility of Y per unit of price of Y commodity, that is commodity X is ice cream and commodity Y is chocolate, they intersect at this point, that is point of equilibrium, and the quantities of commodity X and Y consumed at this equilibrium point is that, or we can say equilibrium quantity of commodity X and Y consumed is 2 units of X and 3 units of Y, as shown in our example. 2 units of X, this, and 3 units of Y. This one is equal to constant the marginal utility of money. and we will draw a perpendicular from this equilibrium point to the horizontal axis, which shows the units of x and units of y, which are 2 units of x and 3 units of y, where the total expenditure of the consumer is equal to his total income, which is assumed to be equal to 50 rupees. And this is the final equilibrium, and this will not be the final equilibrium because here marginal utility of money is less than marginal utility of x, and in terms of total expenditure it is also less than the given income of the consumer. This is how consumer's equilibrium is achieved when there are two commodities available for consumption to a consumer, when their utilities, when their satisfying power is different to a consumer, and consumer will spend, he will distribute income on these two commodities. He will exchange commodity and x and y in different units until their marginal utilities gets equalized to their price ratios. We can also explain this consumer's equilibrium with the help of marginal utility of x and marginal utility of y, that is this one, in terms of their marginal utility of x divided by marginal utilities of y, that the marginal utilities of both commodities should be equal to their price ratios, that is the price of commodity x and price of commodity y, and their ratio should be also equal to constant marginal utility of money, which is the final condition for consumer's equilibrium. And we have shown this consumer's equilibrium with the help of this equation, where marginal utility of x per unit of price should be equal to marginal utility of y per unit of price of y, equal to constant marginal utility of money. And you can take different numerical examples or different commodities in place of ice cream and chocolate, and there are different marginal utilities you will take, and you will find the initial and final consumer equilibrium in terms of marginal utilities and price ratios, as well as constant marginal utility of money, or in terms of total expenditure and total income of the rational consumer. Hope you have understood it. Thanks.